There have been numerous requests for this video. Today, I'm going to show you how I do bookbinding to create your own one-of-a-kind journaling notebook. I know what you might be thinking. Isn't this going to be too complicated or time-consuming? Recently, I designed a 3-part journaling system, and that's what inspired me to research and learn bookbinding. I wanted to gift this journal to my husband, and to my surprise, the process turned out to be much more straightforward than I expected. If I could do it, I'm confident anyone can follow along. Not to mention, it'll be your own custom-made journaling notebook. But if you're not ready to dive into a new hobby just yet, that's totally fine. You can simply enjoy watching how this transforms into this. The bookbinding technique I'll be using is called the Coptic Stitch. I chose this particular technique for 2 reasons. Number 1, it allows the pages to open completely flat, making it perfect for writing without the frustration of the notebook trying to close itself, a seamless writing experience. The flat-lay pages are so good, so comfortable to use. Number 2, despite the simple process, I found Coptic Stitch to be a highly functional bookbinding method. It's remarkably solid in construction. These are the supplies that we'll need. All the necessary supplies in the video can be purchased on Amazon as one bookbinding toolkit. I'll leave the link in the description for anyone who needs it. For the journal cover, you'll need 1 to 2 chipboards. You can buy chipboards from Amazon, but if you have any fine art paper pads lying around, the chipboard at the back works great too. Just upcycle it, it's just as good. You'll need a cloth or cover paper. Choose cloth or decorative paper for the journal's exterior. I bought a roll of black cloth from Amazon, which came with a nice backing that made the gluing process really easy. For other bookbinding projects, I sourced some lovely sheets of paper from one of my favorite paper stores on the island. Grab 1 or 2 sheets of thick cardstock for the inside of the cover. Pick a color that complements your cover design for a polished look. For the bookbinding tools, you'll want a decent length of waxed cotton or linen thread for binding. Regular household thread probably won't work, it's usually too thin. A thicker thread is better because it makes your binding stronger and more durable once everything is put together. You'll need a needle. A household needle will work, but a curved needle makes bookbinding much smoother. You'll see what I mean soon. A bone folder is for folding pages. At first, I tried to be frugal and use the side of a ruler, but I quickly realized why a bone folder is so worth it. Be careful not to damage the pages. This tool, called awl, might look intimidating, but it's just for making holes where you'll stitch. You'll need something soft underneath when making holes. I used a random piece of styrofoam from an Amazon package, and I was surprised how well it worked for me. You'll need standard stationery tools like cutting board, all-purpose glue, large brush, double-sided tape. This is optional, but I love using it for a clean, neat finish. You'll need to print your inside journaling pages. For 3 months of journaling, you'll need 3 pages for the goals section, 48 double-sided pages for the planning and reflecting sections. On one of the planning and reflecting pages, print 1 page of the cover with the logo on the back. Also, print 1 page of a blank back cover on one of the planning and reflecting pages. In the end, you'll have 4 different groups of page layouts. A lot of people ask me what paper I use for journaling. Standard print paper is usually 20-pound and bright white, but I found some options I like better. My local print shop had this matte, warm-toned 24-pound paper that feels just right. Not too heavy, not too light, and it's been great for journaling. Another favorite of mine is HP Premium 32. It's a high-quality printer paper that's perfect for both calligraphy practices and journal pages. Now it's time to prepare the page inserts as the first step. Start by printing your journal pages and folding them in half using a bone folder. As I mentioned, try to avoid using a ruler or anything sharp as it can leave unwanted marks or creases. You can fold multiple pages at once to save time, but I personally enjoy the origami-like process, so I prefer folding them one by one. A key tip here is to take the time to align the edges of the paper precisely. This small detail makes a big difference and ensures your finished book looks clean and neat. Now, it's time to group your folded pages into what's called signatures. I usually put 4 sheets into each signature. For one signature batch, group 3 pages together and add the cover sheet. For another signature batch with 3 pages, include the dotted page. This will be the very last page of the journal. Don't worry, it will all make sense as we go along. By the end, you'll have 12 signatures in total, plus 1 signature of goal-setting pages. Next, cut your chipboard to match the size of your folded pages. For example, if you're working with an 8.5 by 11 sheet folded in half, your chipboard should be 5.5 by 8.5. Don't forget, you'll need 2 pieces, one for the front cover and one for the back. For a polished look, cut a piece of cardstock just a little smaller than your chipboard. Now, let's move on to making the covers. I use book cloth I found on Amazon. It already had a backing, which made the gluing process super easy and wrinkle-free. Cut your book cloth or decorative paper slightly larger than the chipboard. It doesn't have to be perfect, just leave a generous border like this all around and it'll do the job. I poured the glue into a glass container to make it easier to dip the brush. To protect my desk, I placed an old kitchen mat underneath. I spread a generous, even layer of glue over one side of the chipboard. Then flip it over and press the glue side firmly onto the cloth. Flip it over once more and use a bone folder to smooth out any wrinkles, ensuring a clean finish. Cut a small triangle off each corner of the cloth, making sure to leave a bit of a space at the corners of the chipboard. Be sure to leave enough material so the corners look neat and tidy when finished. Next, apply glue on the edges and fold the cloth over to the inside of the chipboard. Finish the cover by using double-sided tape to secure it to the center of the inside cover. I chose to leave the back cover as it is, as it adds a cozy and homemade touch to the overall design. Before you start making holes in the pages, it's a good idea to create a demo template. Measure and mark 3 spots, 1 inch apart from each edge, to make a total of 6 holes. Use an awl to pierce the holes. It's much easier if you have a soft cushion or foam underneath for support. Once your template is ready, place it on top of each signature and carefully pierce through all 6 holes. I have to say, the way the awl pushes through the pages has such a strangely satisfying feeling to it. Alright, now let's get the covers ready. Start by making a sample sheet, just like we did for the inside pages, to mark the 6 holes. Place the holes about 1/2 inch from the edge, aligning them just as you did for the signatures. Take a moment to decide which side will face outward as the cover. Once you're ready, grab your awl and carefully pierce the holes, making them about the same size as your needle. Try to make the holes from outside to inside. The part where you pierce the holes will look more neat and pretty. Repeat these steps for the gold signature and the second chipboard. Now that all the pages are ready, organize them in the correct order before stitching. Covers on the outside and signatures in place. This is where the fun begins. Start by threading your needle. Depending on the thickness of your thread, you can double it up and tie a knot at the end. For my wax yellow thread, which is pretty thick, I just tied a knot at the end and left the thread loose at the needle. For the thread length, I usually measure about 6 times the height of the book spine. It's long enough to get the job done without tangling too much. If you ever run out of thread partway through, don't stress, I'll explain how to tie off and start a new thread as we go along. I found that it's helpful to stitch the book at the edge of the desk. Starting from the bottom, the back cover, and the last signature, here's how you'll stitch. First, take your needle from the inside of the signature to the outside. Next, stitch from the outside of the cover to the inside. Notice how the thread is on the left side. We'll loop around the edge of the cover. This is where a curved needle can make things a bit easier, but a straight needle works too. Then, go back into the signature. Just repeat this for all the holes in the first signature. Take it slow, and don't worry if it feels tricky at first. It'll get easier as you find your rhythm. Honestly, once you do, the process becomes surprisingly relaxing. When you're done with the first signature, loop the thread around the last stitch and start sewing into the next signature, like this. The steps are the same. Thread into the signature, move to the next hole, and thread out. Loop around the previous stitch, go back into the signature. If your thread runs out, no problem. Just leave a little tail, tie a secure knot inside the signature, and snip off the extra. To start a new thread, simply begin at the next hole, threading from the inside of the signature to the outside. It's super easy to pick up where you left off. When you get to the last signature, it's time to sew on the back cover. Start by stitching from the outside of the cover to the inside. Loop the thread around the last stitch, then go into the signature just like before. Keep everything nice and snug, and you're almost there. Now, let's wrap things up. For the final stitches, loop the thread around the last stitch on the previous signature. Stitch through the back cover from outside to inside. Loop around once, then return to the signature. Repeat for all holes. When you're done, tie a small, secure knot inside the last signature. Tuck the thread neatly, trim off any excess, and admire your work. You've officially bound your own 3-part journal. Yay! How do you like the end result? I think it turned out pretty well. Here's another example I made using the same technique, Coptic Stitch. As you can see, this bookbinding method offers endless possibilities for creativity in size, color, and design. I hope you enjoyed today's little art class. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments and I'll answer as best as I can. If you're curious to learn more about the 3-part journaling system, you can check out this video. As always, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye!